Welcome back to part 2 of the unsolved mystery of D.B Cooper. And welcome to the whirlpool of the unsolved, where the unsolved is questioned and dissected. I'm Frank, and today's episode we will be talking about the unsolved mystery of D.B Cooper. So in this episode, we're going to go ahead and talk about the investigation where in the first episode we spoke more about what had happened and kind of who D.B Cooper was. So this episode, we're predominantly speaking about the investigation as well as certain theories that were thrown out there as well as my own. So now, going into the investigation was clearly led by the FBI. FBI agents recovered 66 unidentified fingerprints on the airliner. Agents also found Cooper's black clip-on tie, his tie clip, and 2 of the 4 parachutes. Out of the 2 that were found, one was open with having the 2 shroud lines cut from the canopy. Authorities interviewed eyewitnesses in Portland, Seattle, and Reno, with a series of composite sketches being done. Immediately after the whole chaos, local police and the FBI started questioning possible suspects. Their first suspect was a man from Oregon who had a minor criminal background. His name was actually D.B Cooper. Portland police contacted this man believing that there was a chance that the hijacker would use his actual name, or at least the same alias in previous crime. He was ruled out quickly, but a local reporter named James Long was rushing to meet a deadline for an article, was confused with the suspect's name with the name of the hijacker, hence the reason why the hijacker is now known as D.B Cooper. Other reports and media outlets also published the hijacker's name the same way, leaving the name almost permanent for the hijacker. The authorities and the FBI had a difficult time trying to define a precise area to search, since there was a lot they had to consider. The speed of the aircraft, the time before he pulled the cord, wind speed, and so much more. The crazy part of the whole ordeal is that neither the pilots of the Air Force fighter jets saw anything. They didn't see anybody jump out or anything on the radar either. Not even the parachute, but then again it was dark out, with clouds visually making it hard to see so far ahead. So it was possible that Cooper jumped, but the whole entire time the T-33 pilots never made visual contact with the Boeing 727 aircraft. In an experimental recreation with Scott piloting the Boeing 727, the same aircraft used in the hijacking, they used the same flight configuration. FBI agents then pushed a 200-pound sled out of the open air stair, which produced the same upward motion of the tail, the day of the hijacking when Cooper had apparently jumped out. After recreating this, they agreed that it had been around that 8:13 p.m. mark that he had jumped out. At that very moment, around that time, the aircraft was flying through a storm right above the Lewis River in southwest Washington state. After brainstorming and trying to figure out where Cooper may have landed, they believed Cooper's landing zone was on the southernmost outreach of Mount St. Helens, a few miles southeast of Ariel, Washington, which was near Lake Merwin, which was an artificial lake formed by the dam of the Lewis River. The search was mainly focused on Clark and Cowlitz counties, going through the terrain both north and south of the Lewis River in southwest Washington state. A multitude of people were used for the search. not only the FBI, but you also had the county's deputies, helicopters, boats, and as well as other search parties. They looked all around these counties and areas, going through the woods, searching the lakes, knocking on doors, as well as searching farmhouses. Yet there was no trace of Cooper or any type of equipment or money that he may have had with him. The FBI also coordinated an aerial search using fixed-wing aircraft and helicopters that were from the Oregon Army National Guard, which flew the whole entire flight path, which they called Victor 23, which was from Seattle to Reno. They searched in that path and found numerous broken treetops, pieces of plastic, and other objects that may have resembled parts of a parachute. But after investigating those things, they found that nothing was relevant to the hijacking. Shortly after the beginning of spring in early 1972, teams of FBI agents as well as some 200 Army soldiers from Fort Lewis, along with Air Force personnel, National Guardsmen, and civilian volunteers, went into another thorough ground search in, once again, both Clark and Cowlitz County, which lasted 18 days in March. Then they searched again in April for another 18 days. A marine salvage company was then hired called Electronic Exploration Company, which used a submarine to search the 200-foot depths of Lake Merwin. Yet nothing was actually found that would have been significant to the case at hand, which they have extensively searched everywhere they believed he would have landed. Two local women at some point stumbled upon a skeleton in an abandoned building in Clark County. It was later identified as the remains of Barbara Ann Derry, a teenage girl who had been abducted and murdered several weeks before the skeletal remains were found. Now, clearly they had a search for the ransom money, which was administered a month after the hijacking. The FBI released lists of the serial numbers that were on the bill to financial institutes, casinos, racetracks, other businesses that normally conducted large cash transactions, and clearly to law enforcement agencies around the world. In early 1972, U.S. Attorney General John N. Mitchell released the serial numbers that were on the bills to the general public. But then in 1972, two men used counterfeit $20 bills printed with the serial numbers that Cooper had disappeared with to swindle $30,000 from a Newsweek reporter named Carl Fleming, in exchange for an interview with a man they falsely claimed to be the hijacker. Clearly, there were rewards for whoever found the missing bills, from the banks all the way to news companies. A lot of the offers were good till Thanksgiving of 1974. Though there were several near matches to the bills, being that the serial numbers were close to the ones that were missing, none of the bills matched those serial numbers to have disappeared with Cooper. Later development indicated after subsequent analysis that the original believed landing spot was completely wrong. After researching more about the distance in time that they came to this realization, I have found nothing. There is no true time frame to when they realized this possible change of landing area. But after further analysis and realizing that with the manual flying at the demands of Cooper, they believed that it was southeast rather than southwest when he had jumped, believed to be in the drainage area of Washougal River. They, of course, searched the area numerous times in private groups and more for years, but yet no clues found. Investigators believed that any type of evidence or clues may have disappeared due to the 1980 eruption of Mount St. Helens, since any clues may have been obliterated due to the eruption. On February 10th of 1980, an 8-year-old child, Brian Ingram, was with his family on vacation on the Columbia River at a beachfront known as Tina Bar, which was about 9 miles downstream from Vancouver, Washington, and 20 miles southwest of Ariel. He discovered 3 packets of the ransom money after raking the sandy riverbank to make a campfire. The bills were disintegrated but still bundled in their original rubber bands. FBI technicians then confirmed after investigating the bills that they were indeed a part of the money from the ransom. 2 packets of $20 bills each and a third packet of 90, all arranged in the same order. When given to D.B Cooper, after this revelation, it sparked another deeper investigation, which led to more questions with yet no answers for those added questions. They tried to figure out how the money ended up where it was found, but still no luck. Yes, they had their theories and scientific possibilities, but there was still no answer to how it arrived in that location, which then in turn had the FBI at another dead end in the investigation. Eventually, the investigation was suspended on July 8th, 2018, after a long 45 years of investigation. Still no answers to this unsolved case. The only thing that they had was a 60-volume case file that was compiled during those years of investigating, which is now preserved at FBI headquarters in Washington, D.C., and as well as the FBI website. The only physical evidence they found on a plane was a black clip-on tie, as I said earlier, a mother-of-pearl tie clip, and 8 filter-tipped Raleigh cigarette butts that at some point was lost. So the investigation led to more questions. As you can see, they really couldn't find anything. And the theories that I've found in this in just researching this and looking into this case, it's very bizarre, and there's so much to this case that honestly I would recommend you guys to take a look. I'm going to share a little bit of the theories that I found online, not full theories, just summaries of the theories, and as well some of my thoughts. There were plenty of theories of what may have happened to this D.B Cooper character. That's the truth. Some people believe that the man may have been ex-military, which it's possible, and the reason being because of how he wanted the plane to fly and the exact height and all of those other flying demands that he had. Some people believe he worked in a steel mill of some sort because later, with newer technology, clearly they found evidence of natural minerals that is normally found in some sort of metal. They found it on his tie. Some believe he may have been a manager or someone who overlooked people that dealt with that sort of material that has those very minerals, being during that time to basically have that type of mineral and stuff on you. You had to work in a place where you can find that. Yet with more research, there were more questions. This case has been a circle since the very beginning, since the first question alone couldn't be answered. Did he survive or did he die? And that's a question that a lot of us have that have read into D.B Cooper. And you think about the fact that some people believe that he was ex-military, possibly Air Force. And I've looked online and I've seen articles and people saying that they knew who D.B Cooper was and they were in the military with them, or they were in the military with somebody else. And, there's a lot of theories to who D.B Cooper was, but none of the theories have amounted to anything. Theories are only theories, and probably the only thing driving us to want to know more. But like I said, after researching this case, I found myself asking mainly just one question and one question only. Did he live or die? Because clearly the evidence wasn't enough to lead the investigation anywhere, as well as the misguided locations they believed he may have landed. They wasted time searching one area when it could have easily been in a whole other location. But by that time, they realized that It may have been too long, like honestly. From southwest to southeast, that's a big, big difference, and that is a big change of direction. And the truth is, after researching, you know, I couldn't find the difference in time. Like, I couldn't find how long it took them to realize that, hey, he may have not dropped southwest, but southeast. So there's no time frame of when that realization occurred. And being that we don't know that, it's possible that if he survived, he was long gone. And honestly, he may have lived in an incredible and lucky way and actually got away. That's true. Or he may have died and his body may have been disintegrated by the eruption of Mount St. Helens. Remember, that's one of those things that they believe may have happened with any type of evidence. Yeah, I believe he may have escaped, though the same way I think he may have died. And it's kind of confusing. It really sucks because it's really too hard to tell if he did or didn't. I lean to staying alive a little bit more because no body was ever recovered, or the money, just the bands that were recovered, which, to be honest, was nowhere near the total amount he got away with. He could have easily probably gotten out of the country and laundered the money in a different country, easily changing his identity and living a wealthy lifestyle with no one ever admitting to being him, as well as having evidence that it was him, which there are some people that claim to be him, but it goes back into evidence and security, because anybody can say that they're anybody and they're really not. It would be hard to ever know if he was truly alive. That's the truth. But not finding a body at all also leads me to him being alive as well. Like, honestly, you have no body. If there's no body or money laying around outside of those bands that they found, how can he possibly dead? How can he honestly be dead? There is no evidence whatsoever. And the fact that that mistake that happened in the beginning of the investigation occurred, it's possible that he's long gone. But that's just another question, honestly, asked in a case full of them. But that's just my thoughts on everything. Honestly, I personally believe that he survived, and, you know, God knows how old he is now, or if he's even alive now. But I personally believe he survived. There's no body, no money, and I know people are going to be like, well, you know, possibly if he would have went to a different country, you know, because the FBI reported it to other countries as well, the serial numbers and all that, that it's possible that, you know, he would have been caught by now and all that stuff. Yeah, but these countries are very dirty as well. A lot of countries are poor countries, and money is money to them. And if they can find a way to use that money without reporting that money, especially during that period in time where technology wasn't big, it's possible. It's very possible. Anything is possible at this point in this case. But that's honestly just my complete thoughts on it. Tell me what you guys think in the comments or anything like that. But I hope you enjoyed this episode of Whirlpool of the Unsolved. Tune in next week for a new episode. Till next time.